Hey guys, this is Heroic Flamingo and welcome to my Guild Wars 2 class guide for the Daredevil. In this video we're going to be looking at the Daredevil's exclusive weapon and each of the individual weapon skills. We'll then be looking at the healing, utility and elite skills. We'll then move on to how it overhauls the base mechanics for the thief, and then finally we'll have a look at the traits within the elite specialization to see how you can make yourself even more powerful. So if you're interested in playing as a Daredevil, or if you already are and you want to know more, sit tight and we'll get started right now. Alright, so before we go into the detail, I just want to give you a quick profession overview for the Daredevil. So the Daredevil is the first elite specialization for the thief, and it's unlocked in the Heart of Thorns expansion. Training in the path of the Daredevil does not come easily, but those who dare are rewarded with the reserves that will help them endure as they enter the jungle. Specializing as a Daredevil will allow you to wield a staff as a melee weapon, and utilize hand-to-hand combat styles with the physical skill category. Additionally, you'll gain access to a third endurance bar and be able to greatly modify the effects of your dodge ability. So basically, the Daredevil is a very melee focused, movement focused class, a bit like the Thief in general, what you'd expect it to be, but it takes it to a whole new level. You get access to the two-handed staff as your new weapon, but it's not like anything you've seen. It's not a magical weapon. It's used like a like a physical weapon, and it's really cool actually. That's a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to showing you that. You get a new type of skills called physical skills, which obviously all links in with that, and we're going through all of them. And you get extra endurance bar, which means you can dodge more, and you can use your traits, which we'll look at a bit later on, to customize your dodge as well and have extra effects. So there's a lot of cool stuff, and to be honest, I think this does make the thief a lot better, so it's well worth watching. So the first thing I want to go through is the weapon skills. Alright, so the first thing I want to have a look at is the new and exclusive weapon for the Daredevil. So this is the two-handed staff, so obviously gives you 5 weapon skills to look at. This staff is unlike anything that you get on any other class. It's not a magical weapon, it's actually a close range weapon, and we're going to go into that now. So we're going to go through each of the skills one by one, have a look at what they do, and then demonstrate them. So our number 1 ability on the staff is a chain ability. So these have to be done one after the other to have the maximum effect. So first you've got staff strike, and then staff bash, and then punishing strikes. So the first one, strike your enemy with your staff. So this is melee range, hits up to 3 enemies, does a bit of damage. The second one is swing your staff a second time, striking multiple enemies, so same again there, up to 3 targets from melee range. And then the third hit is going to whirl your staff around, striking nearby enemies, and this is going to do 4 lots of damage as you whirl your staff around. It's going to stick vulnerability on the enemy, and it's also going to reflect missiles and hit up to 3 targets from melee range. There is the bottom one there is a stealth attack. So if you use your number 1 ability from stealth, you'll use hook strike, which is attack your foes with stealth, knocking enemies down. But obviously I'm not going to demonstrate that right now, but we're going to go through the main the chain skill now. So let's try this out. So we've got we're going to strike again, and then we're going to whirl it around. So let's try this out. So strike, and then whirl. Nice. Really cool animations on this weapon. Like I said, a melee staff is a really cool idea. I'm actually a massive fan of it. So yeah, that looks awesome. So let's see what else we got. So our number 2 skill is weakening charge, and this costs 3 initiative. So deliver multiple strikes, weakening foes. So this is going to hit 3 times, do a decent amount of damage. It's going to inflict weakness on the enemy and hit up to 3 targets. So it says it's got a range of 450, and it's a whirl ability. So let's see how this actually works. So as you can see, you sort of jump forward there and whirl around and hit. Does a good amount of damage as well. So you can do it from sort of like mid-range, not too far away, but you know, it's a good way to get into the fight as well. So your number 3 is a debilitating arc, and that costs 5 initiative. So strike enemies in front of you and roll backwards, breaking immobilizing effects. Okay, so this is going to remove immobilize from you. It's going to inflict cripple on the enemy and do a bit of damage, so you can get a bit of space between you and them and slow them down. You'll evade for half a second while you're rolling, and that can affect up to 3 targets. So you're going to roll about 400 distance away from them. So this might be useful if you were going to perhaps swap to a long range weapon, or you just wanted to make some space between you and an enemy for another reason. But let's demonstrate this. Well, there you go. So whack, roll backwards, and evade. So It's part of the whole movement thing. You know, you want to move around, you want to avoid getting hit and utilize that. So yeah, that's a pretty cool skill. Number 4, Dust Strike, and this costs 4 initiative. Sweep the ground, blinding enemies in front of you. Okay, so this can be done from mid-range. You're going to sweep the ground, you're going to put vulnerability and blindness on up to 3 enemies and do a bit of damage. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, so it looks like it sort of shoots it towards the enemy, so it's relatively long range. So let's try this out. And you can hit a few enemies along the way there, and it obviously sticks those conditions on blindness and vulnerability, so that's a couple of good ones there. So that's going to have a good effect in battle. And then your 5th and final ability is Vault, and this costs 6 initiative. So this is a ground target ability, and this is leap towards your destination, damaging foes upon impact. So you're going to ground target where you want to jump to. You can do it from mid-range. You're going to jump to that location. You're going to do a decent amount of damage on up to 5 targets in a 180 radius, and you're also going to evade for half a second while you're leaping. So it's a pretty good way of getting around. Costs a fair amount of initiative, but it should do a decent amount of damage to everyone in the area. So let's try this out. So I can do it from, yeah, look, pretty far away to be fair, so I can come from about there. Alright, that looks awesome. So literally flips through the air, smashing down, damaging everyone in the area. Let's just demonstrate that one more time. Nice backflip and a big swipe at the enemy, and it will hit everyone in the area. So that's really awesome there. So some really cool weapon abilities there. I really like how this staff interacts differently with the Daredevil than it does with all of the other classes. I do like it when they make a weapon unique, even though this weapon is used by other classes. It is totally unique in the way it's used, and that's really awesome. So that's everything for the weapon skills for the Daredevil. So next thing I want to have a look at is the new and exclusive healing skill. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at a new healing skill for the Daredevil. So this is our first look at one of the new physical skills. So this is called Channeled Vigor and has a 30-second cooldown. So channel your energy to gain endurance and health per pulse. Heal for more if your endurance is full. Okay, so this is going to take 3/4 of a second to cast. It's going to pulse 3 times. It's going to give you a decent amount of healing, as well as bumping up your endurance as well, because obviously, like we said, a lot of the Daredevil is about moving around and stuff like that. So bringing your endurance back is going to help you with that. And then if you have full endurance when you use this, your big heal is actually going to be significantly bigger as well. So potentially do think about that. But I mean, if you are moving around a lot, you're not often going to have a full bar, but if you do, then it's just going to do that extra bit of healing as well, which is pretty cool. So let's demonstrate this. So let me just roll around a little bit and then use this. Boom, there you go. You can see that brings back your endurance there. It also would have done a decent amount of healing as well, and then you just got to wait 30 seconds for the cooldown. So that's the new healing skill. It's pretty good, and it links in with the whole movement aspect of the Daredevil as well, which is pretty cool. So the next thing I want to have a look at are the utility skills. Alright, so now I want to have a look at the new utility skills for the Daredevil. So let's have a look here. We've got 4 new physical skills along here. So what I'm going to do is I'll equip the first 3, have a look at them, demonstrate them, and then I'll do the last one. Alright, so first up we've got Fist Flurry, which has a 20-second cooldown. So strike your enemy multiple times. If all attacks hit, gain access to Palm Strike. Okay, so we're going to hit the enemy 5 times, doing a decent amount of damage, putting vulnerability on the enemy. Has to be done from close range. And then if all of those attacks hit, you'll gain access to Palm Strike, which you'll just press your this key again. And it means you will strike your foe once to deal massive damage and stun them, marking your target with a pulmonary impact. So this is just an extra thing, so you've already done the damage. It's got you put vulnerability with the first skill, which means they're going to be taking even more damage. Then you're going to hit them with this big massive damage, and you're going to stun them for 2 seconds as well. So that's pretty good. So you're going to put pulmonary impact on, which explosively damaging attack, which lasts for 2 seconds. So that's going to do the big amount of damage as well. All of this has to be done from melee range, which shouldn't be a problem if you're using the Daredevil. You're generally going to be using melee mostly anyway, but let's try this out. So Fist Flurry and then Palm Strike, assuming all the attacks hit. So Fist Flurry, bam bam bam, and then palm strike, boom, and then wait a couple of seconds, bam, there you go, big damage there. Vulnerability on them the whole time as well. So that's actually a really cool ability there, which just adds to your, it's a bit like a weapon skill really. It sort of links in with your, well, it is a physical skill I suppose, so it links in with your weapon skills and just adds to that really, meaning that you can do more melee damage. So next up we've got Distracting Daggers. So this is an ammo skill, it has 3 counts and the count recharges 20 seconds. So it's fire a dazing dagger at your enemy. If this ability interrupts a skill, that skill's recharge is increased. Okay, so this can be done from quite long range, so 900 range, so it's a bit different. So you're going to chuck a dagger at the enemy. It's going to daze the enemy and for a quarter of a second, but the main thing is you want to interrupt a skill. So you want to do it when they're doing a skill. And if you do interrupt a skill, then that skill's recharge is increased. So it's just going to take longer for them to be able to use that skill again, as well as it being interrupted. Especially, so it could be especially good if it's like a healing skill or something like that, because not only are you going to stop them from getting their healing, you're also going to be a bigger gap before they can use it again, which means you and all your allies can put a bunch of damage on them and hopefully get that enemy dead. Alright, okay, so let's try this out now. So, as I said, you can do it from 900 range, so let me try it from here. So, boom, fire a dagger there, it's a daze. As I said, you can't really see the full impact of it if you haven't got the, you know, if they're not using a skill, which these guys obviously aren't. You can see each counter that will come back after 20 seconds, so you can use it 3 times before you actually have to wait, which is pretty cool. Next up, we've got Bandit's Defense, which has a 30-second cooldown. So briefly block incoming attacks. Blocking an attack grants access to a retaliatory attack. Okay, so this lasts for a second and a half. So you're going to block attacks, and it also breaks stun as well. And obviously, if you do block an attack, it means you get a retaliatory attack, which means that you can effectively hit them back, doing a bit of damage. Because we're in combat, we can't actually see that. Let's see if we can demonstrate that. Alright, so we can't see exactly what that does because we obviously can't block because these guys don't attack, but you get the idea. You're going to be able to use that in combat, whack that out, block their next attack, so make sure you do it when you're about to take a hit, and then you'll be able to hit them in retaliation as well, doing a decent amount of damage, so that'd be pretty cool. Okay, so I've now equipped the 4th utility skill. I will quickly show you this Bandit's Defense one real quick, the one we said about the block. Just so you know that the retaliatory strike is reflexive strike, which is deliver a massive kick that knocks enemies down. So that's the one that you can use, and if you block an attack, you can hit them with that kick and knock them down, which would be an awesome one as well. So the final utility skill is Impairing Daggers, and it has a 25-second cooldown. So fling multiple daggers at a single enemy, inflicting conditions. Okay, so this can be done from 900 range, so pretty far away. You'll throw 3 daggers doing a decent amount of damage, and you're going to be inflicting poison, slow, and immobilize on the enemy. So a bunch of conditions stacking on top of the enemy for this one, so this could be really good. So let's try it out on this guy. So if I go boom, 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 there you go. So 3 daggers, all with a different condition there. Decent amount of damage as well. So that's a really cool skill that you can just keep there. Although 25-second cooldowns, a little bit of time, but I think that could be quite an effective skill for you to have on your bar as well. You don't have to be too close to the enemy to use it either, which is nice. Alright, so that's all of the utility skills for the Daredevil. So next up, I want to have a look at the elite skill. Alright, so now I want to have a look at the new and exclusive elite skill for the Daredevil. So this is an elite physical skill, and this is also a chain ability. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the only chain elite skill that I can actually think of, to be fair. I might be wrong there, but there definitely isn't many if there are. So this is got a 40-second cooldown. It's called Impact Strike, followed by Uppercut, followed by Finishing Blow. So if you do these all, one after the other, make sure you do as well, because otherwise you'll be losing out on the damage that you can do there. You do them all in a row, and it will have a lot of good effects there. To be fair, it's only got a 40-second cooldown, so it's not too bad. So you can sort of link this in with your weapon skills, and it's pretty much has to be done from close range as well. So the first one is strike your enemy and stun them. So this is going to daze the enemy for 2 seconds, do a bit of damage, and can be done from 300 range, which is just a little bit further away from melee range, but pretty much you want to be right up close and personal to do this one. The next one is deal a heavy blow with your fist, sending enemies flying. So this is going to launch the enemies, which is pretty cool there, and do a bit of damage. And the third one is deal a downward strike on your foe. Downed enemies struck with this ability are finished. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So you're going to strike the enemy and stun them, then you're going to send them flying, and then you're going to finish them off as well. So like it said as well, if you use it on a downed enemy like in PvP or something like that, it's just going to finish them off as well, so that's pretty cool. You can keep this in reserve and use that. But yeah, so let's give this a go. So stun them, knock them flying, and then downward strike to finish them off. So let's try it out on that little guy. He loves it. Okay, so boom, stun, bang, and then bush. Nice, cool animation there as well. So you see the first one dazed them for a couple of seconds, so they're groggy and everything, and then we went smack, and they got went flying into the air, knocked down onto the ground, and while they were down, we did a nice downward strike to finish them off, and it created a nice smash ability there. Overall, it's going to be doing a lot of damage to a single target, so you know, if you're going to be fighting a lot of single targets and stuff like that, maybe for a lot of solo content, that might be quite useful to whack out to be able to do a good amount of damage. Obviously they can't damage you either because you're dazing them, you're knocking them down and stuff like that, so it'd be quite good in that sort of situation. So that is the new elite skill for the Daredevil. So the next thing I want to do is I want to talk about the unique profession mechanics. Okay, so now I want to talk about the unique profession mechanics for the Daredevil. So to be honest, this makes quite a few changes to the base class for the Thief. Some of the changes are maybe a bit subtle and you won't notice at first, but a lot of it is about the moving and the dodging and stuff like that. We've been through the new weapon, which is the staff, and I think that actually adds a lot. Some elite specs in this game, you know, that adds a weapon, but sometimes you don't even use it because it doesn't make that much of a difference. But this is a weapon that actually does have a huge impact on it. It's a really cool melee weapon that you can use to sort of jump around as well. A lot of movement abilities on there, so that's really awesome. We've been through the physical abilities as well. I think they're cool. I think they interact quite well with the weapon, so if you pair that with your staff, a couple of them are kind of like extra weapon skills as well, so to be honest, it allows you to do quite a lot with that, so I think that's really awesome. But the main thing is the ability to customize your dodge, and I'm going to go through this in a minute. You get 3 options, and basically you can choose what your dodge does, and it will have an effect on enemies and stuff like that, and it's actually really awesome. So one thing I will quickly just mention before I go on to that is that your steal skill, which is your F1 skill, which, well, it's normally called steal on the base Thief anyway, is being replaced by swipe. And you might think, what's the difference? Because it still says shadow step to your foe and steal from them, which is exactly the same as a normal steal ability. The only differences are that the range on it is actually 600 rather than the 1200 on the steal skill, which means it's actually half the range, so you have to do it from mid-range. So that's a little bit annoying because it's actually made it a little bit worse. The only other positive difference is that the cooldown on swipe is 25 seconds, whereas on steal it's 30 seconds, so it is 5 seconds quicker. I mean, I think it's banking on the fact that you're going to be quite close to the enemy anyway. You're probably not going to go much further than mid-range away from the enemy while using the Daredevil, so it shouldn't have too much of an impact. But maybe it's just, you know, a bit of a trade-off. But an extra 5 seconds, or, well, 5 seconds less on the cooldown, I think probably does make that worth it if you're playing as a Daredevil anyway. All of the F2 abilities that you get from stealing are exactly the same as on steal, so I'm not going to go for any of that right now. I will just demonstrate the ability for you real quick. I think it looks exactly the same, but obviously you've got to be closer, and it's like, whoosh, there you go, and then you can use your F2 to use your steal ability, and like I said, they're all the same as the steal abilities you'd get on steal, as opposed to swipe. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to show off the 3 different choices that you have to customize your dodge, which is sort of the main really cool thing about the Daredevil. So I'm going to go through all of the traits in a minute, which I always do in these videos. So I'll be going through all of the individual traits, but this does link in with the traits, and I do want to show it on this part of the video. So in your trait window here, on the final one, you've got 3 to choose from, and these customize your dodge. So you've got Lotus Training, Unhindered Combatant, and Bounding Dodger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate all these abilities. So what they do is they change the effect of your dodge so that it has a skill with it as well. So this first one here, Lotus Training, so So your dodge ability now uses Impaling Lotus, firing daggers at nearby enemies. Gain increased condition damage for a period of time when dodging. So whenever you dodge on this, you're going to do Impaling Lotus, which is evade attacks and hurl damaging daggers, dealing multiple conditions to enemies. So basically, whenever you dodge, you're going to be jumping over the enemy, throwing daggers at them, doing damage, putting conditions on them, as well as gaining increased condition damage for a short period of time, 4 seconds afterwards as well. So that's really cool. So it's quite a few things there just for selecting that. So I've selected that, and that means that now my dodge has been customized. So let's try this out. Impaling Lotus. It's not working so well. There you go. Sorry about that. I think you have to be quite close. So you can't, what I was sort of doing there was standing back and jumping into them. But you have to stand quite close to sort of jump over them. So when you're in melee range like this, you do it and you jump over them. There you go. As you can see the conditions stuck on them there. Decent amount of damage now. And that's just by dodging. And obviously by being a Daredevil, you get free dodge bars as well. So you've got that extra thing. So you can use this quite a lot to move around. So you could be like hitting them with your abilities, and then you could obviously stick that in there to jump over them, hit them from the other side. You know what I mean? There's a lot of possibilities, and that really adds to the movement thing. So that's really cool, and that's the first one there. So what I'll do is I'll show you the other two abilities as well. Okay, so we've now selected the second Grandmaster trait, and that gives us Unhindered Combatant. So your dodge ability is replaced by a long-range dash that removes inhibiting conditions and grants swiftness and damage reduction. Removing conditions in this way temporarily reduces endurance gain. Okay, so let's dig into that. So instead of dodging, you're going to have a long range dash. So when you use it, it's going to remove conditions from you, such as cripple and shield and immobilize and stuff like that. And it's going to grant you swiftness and damage reduction. So minus 10% incoming damage and minus 10% incoming condition damage. So whenever you do remove conditions in this way, it does say it temporarily reduces your endurance gain. So do bear that in mind. It means your endurance will come back a little bit slower, but it'd probably be worth it because, you know, as you can see, that dash ability, remove conditions and gain swiftness, then rush forward and evade attacks. Okay, so there is that extra little bit as well. You're going to rush forward after it and evade some attacks. So you're going to evade for 3/4 of a second and remove those conditions and gain swiftness. So let's just try this out then. So let's see how this works.
Swift and steady.
Alright, so so it's a pretty weird looking one there. So you sort of move quite far, and it is sort of a dodging ability, and it gives you the buffs. Obviously it gives you swiftness and stuff like that, as well as you take a little bit less damage. But obviously you can do it backwards, so if you're fighting an enemy like that, you could go backwards with it, but you could also use it to go at an enemy as well. So you could stand back and you could say like that, or you could use it when you're fighting someone to move side to side. So it's just another movement ability there, a bit more of a longer range one, so you can move further. So that's pretty cool there. Okay, so the third and final dodge ability is Bounding Dodger. So your dodge ability is replaced by Bound, dealing damage to the area after you evade. Physical damage is increased for a period of time after you dodge. Okay, so you're going to do the Bound ability, which is going to leap into an area and deliver a massive blow to enemies. Okay, that's pretty awesome. So this one's more of a damage one, so you can jump at enemies and damage all the enemies in an area. It hits up to 5 targets and a radius of 180. You can evade for 3/4 of a second, and you can travel 300 distance. So you're going to do that, and it does also say you get Bounding Dodger, which for 4 seconds afterwards you get 15% additional physical damage, which obviously links in with your physical skills and your melee abilities and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool there. So let's try this out. So let's see how far we can get. So boom. Oh right, okay. That's really cool. That's a really awesome animation as well. So I'm literally flipping towards them and sort of like bombing down and doing a bit of damage. So let's try this out. So if I go boom, boom. Oh man, that'll never get old. Yeah, that's really cool actually. That's probably my favourite of the three. I think the first one might be the most practical, obviously good for jumping around and inflicting conditions, but I think that one definitely looks the coolest. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, so I think that's all of the unique profession mechanics for the Daredevil. So the next thing I want to do is I want to talk about the elite specialization and the individual traits within it. Alright, so now I want to have a look at the Daredevil elite specialization and the traits within it. Okay, so obviously I've got the Daredevil specialization here. You have to equip it in your third specialization slot because it's an elite spec. And just by having this on your bar here, you have the staff proficiency, which means you can wield a staff. And obviously we've been through that already. And also your first passive skill here is physical supremacy. And this means you gain access to physical skills. Your maximum endurance threshold is increased, and while still is replaced with swipe. So we've been through all of those changes as well, so just by having that on here you get all of those cool new things which make the Daredevil quite unique. Okay, so your first choice here is Marauder's Resilience. So gain vitality based on a portion of your power. Damage is increased from foes within the range threshold. Okay, so you're going to gain vitality, so health based on your power. So 7% of your power you're going to gain in vitality. So it says damage is decreased from foes within the range threshold, so 10% damage reduction for enemies within a radius of 360. So that's pretty good there, so especially if you're using a lot of melee combat and enemies are quite close, it means that you'll be taking 10% less damage from those enemies. Next up you've got Escapist's Fortitude. So gain health when you successfully evade an attack. Remove a condition whenever you evade an attack. Okay, so whenever obviously you're going to be evading a lot, dodging around a lot as well, which is cool. So whenever you successfully do that, you're going to gain health, and you're also going to remove a condition as well. So that just makes that even better, even more incentive to dodge around. Brawler's Tenacity. Physical skills grant endurance when activated and gain reduced recharge. Okay, so physical skills, obviously we went through all of these ones along here at the bottom. They're all physical skills. So whenever you use those, you're going to grant yourself some endurance, so you're going to bring a bit of this bar back as well. And when activated, you're going to gain reduced recharge. So 20% reduced recharge on those physical skills. So that's pretty awesome there if you've got quite a few of those physical skills on your bar. Okay, so the next passive is Weakening Strikes. So your next attack after dodging causes weakness to foes struck. Weakened enemies deal less damage to you and you deal more damage to them. Okay, so after you dodge, your next attack is going to put weakness on the enemy, and then it just buffs the effects of weakness, meaning that enemies with weakness on them are going to do less damage to you and you're going to do more damage to them. Okay, the next choice is Staff Master. So while wielding a staff, gain endurance for each initiative point spent. Gain bonus power, which is increased when wielding a staff. Okay, so this obviously brings incentive to wielding a staff, so if you are going to use the staff as one of your weapons in your build, this will probably be a good choice for you. So it's going to mean that you have extra power just by choosing this, but even more extra power if you're wielding a staff as well. And you're going to get endurance regen, so an extra endurance point back every time you spend initiative, so which obviously all of your weapon skills use. So if you're going to be using those and spend a lot of initiative, which you should be, then you're going to be getting more endurance regen there, which means you're actually going to be able to dodge around more as well. So it just enhances sort of the base mechanics of the Daredevil, which is really awesome. Next up, Havoc Specialist. So damage is increased based on endurance that is missing. So damage per bar missing, 5%. So obviously 5% if you're just missing that one, 10, and then 15% if you've got all three of your endurance bars missing. So if you're rolling around a lot, you're always going to have bars missing, which means you're always going to have extra damage. So that could be a good option as well. Next up, you've got Impacting Disruption. So enemies that you interrupt suffer a pulmonary impact. So anyone you're going to interrupt is going to get this skill on them, which is Cause a Rupture that deals massive damage when the skill ends. This ability cannot critically hit. So basically, if you do interrupt an enemy, they're going to get this effect, and after 3 seconds, there's going to be a big attack on them, or a big amount of damage, and that's going to be unblockable as well. So that could be pretty good. Your final passive here is Endurance Thief. So gain endurance when you successfully steal from an enemy. So obviously if you're using your F1 ability on an enemy and if that's successful, then you're going to gain 25 endurance, which is obviously going to go towards your bar as well. So that's pretty good. That's half of one of these bars, so that's a decent chunk there. Alright, so these last ones here, the Grandmaster traits, we've actually been through all three of these and I've shown off the ability it gives you, but I'll just give you a brief little synopsis here. So obviously the first one is Lotus Training, which means that your dodge ability now uses Impaling Lotus, which is the one we showed you, the first one where you jump over the enemy's head, firing daggers at them and sticking a bunch of conditions and upping your condition damage as well. So that was a really cool option. The second one was the one that was a bit longer, so you could unhindered combatant, so your dodge ability is replaced by a long range dash. So this one you can move around longer, and it also removes impairing conditions on you and grants you swiftness, as well as reducing damage. So that was more of a defensive one. And then if you remember, the third and final one was that really awesome one, Bounding Dodger. So your dodge ability is replaced by bound, and that means you leap into an area and deliver a massive blow. So basically you do like a flip and you do like a cannonball right onto the enemy's heads, and that one does some AoE damage to all enemies in the area, so that was a good option as well. So that's all of the traits for the Daredevil. So the last thing I want to do is I want to throw together a quick Daredevil build and do a combat demonstration for you guys so you can see what it looks like when it all comes together. Okay, so I've thrown together a quick Daredevil build here. I've got, of course, the exclusive staff as one of my weapons, and the other one I've got dual daggers, so going for a very melee centric build here. I've got a nice selection of all these cool new physical skills here just to show them off, so let's see how this all goes then. Alright, yeah, so I can't get enough of that dodge ability there, that massive cannonball. That's so awesome. So I think that shows off everything for the Daredevil. So if you've got any more questions, leave it in the comments below and I'll get back to you. If you want to watch a video on any of the other classes or elite specializations, check out the classes playlist on my channel, because I've pretty much done all of them now. I've only got one more to do, and that's the other elite spec for the thief. And if you want to watch a video that goes through all of the classes and elite specializations in one shorter video, I've got that as well, so do check that out. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.